Once those maps come into, are formally adopted, the area behind the levees, this American Bottom, this 174 square miles, will be declared a special flood hazard area by FEMA.
And that means?
And that means a couple of things. It means that although you're eligible to buy flood insurance now, you will be required to buy flood insurance if you have a mortgage or loan from any federally regulated lending institution, which...
And who doesn't?
Yeah. So, and that insurance will be fairly expensive because the area is no longer protected. It's
more expensive
it's a hazard
than it
area.
is today.
Yeah, I mean, today it's pretty reasonable, but it'll be thousands of dollars for businesses and homeowners.
So if somebody's paying $1,000 a year now, after this designation is finalized, what would that $1,000 cost if they told you?
Oh, it might be $3,000 or $4,000. I mean,
so it could go up 3 or 4 times over what it's costing right now. If someone's buying insurance now, it's going to be 3 or 4 times more once this map changes.
At least, yes.
Is this a political decision or is this really an engineering decision?
It's an engineering decision, but I would, to me, and I'm an engineer, to me it's kind of an ambiguous engineering decision. It's, how do you qualify risk? Nobody pulled a switch in August of 2007 and said, on August 14th we were safe and August 15th we're not. It just doesn't work like that. Of course, there are degrees of risk. And ultimately, it's a question of how much are we willing to pay and how much risk are we willing to absorb. So it's not a simple decision. Of course, engineering decisions tend to be quantitative, and they tend to be digital. It's either on or off. It's not. There's no room in between. So back to the consequences. So okay, mandatory flood insurance, which we think will probably cost businesses and citizens in our region, in this American Bottom, probably a total of about $25 million a year. Just
more than they're paying now,
right.
Or a total?
Total, just for, well, that'll be the increase from what they're paying now.
Okay.
So that's a substantial economic consequence for our region. Building standards, new building standards will be imposed that basically require new structures to be built over the height of the base, what they call the base flood elevation.
Isn't that what they did by 270 and 111, where they built all those warehouses? Don't they stand up and they have like moats around them?
Well, I think, yeah, they do, but I think that's more for internal drainage. The actual base flood elevation in that area is probably going to be significantly higher than that. So, in an area like Granite City, you might have to build 15, 20 feet in the air, and no one's going to do that. So there's this dramatic chilling effect on any economic growth and on property values. You're in the American Bottom, you own a house, you've lived there all your life. In Granite City, you go to sell your house.
Nobody wants to buy.
All of a sudden, the value of that house is going to be significantly diminished.
Right.
And there are spin-off effects. Well, what about people's assessed value for taxation purposes? Are we going to have to lower their values? Is that going to affect the quality of services that government can offer?
That's an interesting concept. Hadn't thought of that.
So, there are all sorts of quite dramatic consequences of this action. And of course, what does it mean for public safety? I mean, that really comes first, and it's what do we know about these levees and how safe are we behind those levees? We all saw what happened in Katrina. Nobody wants that to happen here. And of course, we've got all these factories that make chemical products, refineries, petroleum products, a lot of Superfund sites. This area gets flooded. What does it mean?
I was going to say, of course, when we saw what happened in the Chesterfield Valley back in '93, and if that were to happen over in the American Bottoms, you're talking what you just said. The consequences are far more dramatic. I mean, you've got this chemical soup that would be created if all of a sudden ConocoPhillips has 10 feet of water. If a Granite City Steel were to have 10 feet of water above it. Those are pretty serious consequences. Therefore, I can understand why insurance rates would have to go up if they're unsure. But that's why I asked the question, is this going to be a political decision or is this going to be an engineering decision as to whether these increased costs are going to be imposed or not?
Well, I think it's a little of both. I mean, we've seen areas where under political pressure, FEMA has backed off the cost increases. You know, we would like, in our area particularly, we're one of the largest areas in the country that's affected by this issue. There's a lot of other areas that are affected. We're one of the largest. Sacramento, California is of course very large. Downtown Dallas is affected by a similar issue. And we're one of the first. What we are asking Congress to do is, look, we understand we've got a problem and we've taken responsible action to deal with it. Passed a tax, formed an organization, we're working as fast as we can do to identify the problem and to fix it. Don't impose this kind of penalty on us while we're in the process of fixing it. We're showing good faith effort. You got our attention. You know, give us some time to make the necessary repairs, because we don't want to go through all this trouble, spend all this money, and then this area be economically dead by the time we finish. So there's a bill in Congress now sponsored by Congressman Costello that would do exactly that, give us as much as 7 years, as long as we're in the process of fixing the situation.
We've got about, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes here. Do you really think that you will solve this water going underneath the dam situation in a 7-year period?
I do. You know, we are going through an independent process. We're getting our own inspection being done right now. I mean, as we speak, there are folks out on the levee doing a careful inspection for us. It's kind
when
of
does that report come in?
Probably in June sometime.
June of this year, 2010.
Yeah, we've also began what amounts to a design competition. We got 3 consulting teams, and we've asked them to take a look at this situation. And we said, we don't have $500 million. Maybe we have $150 million, which is still a lot of money.
It is.
Let's figure out how we can solve this problem, make people safer, really improve this levee system to appropriate standards with the money that we have. And I'm pretty optimistic that we can do that. You know, that optimism is not based on a lot right now, but basically on what I've learned over the last 8 or 9 months since I've been on the job. I think it can be done. We can certainly make the system a lot more secure and safer for $150 million.
I mean, in reality, unfortunately, we're almost out of time here. In reality, the real problem is if we ever see another 1993 kind of flood again, right? That's the real problem right there. And that kind of flood has only occurred once in a long time.
Yeah, in theory that was, well, that's the record flood, and in theory that was a 300-year flood. And basically the FEMA standard is a 100-year flood, so 93 exceeded that.
These numbers, 300, 500, 100, these are based on annual chances. A 100-year flood means one chance in every 100 that this is going to happen. 500 is 0.2%.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, that's why we had 93, 95. We had 2 big floods, 95 not being as big, but nevertheless, I mean, there's always a chance you can roll, you know, 25 sevens at the table. It's not going to happen, but there's a chance.
Yeah, there's always a probability. You know, some people think that probability may increase over time. I think it's something we do need to take seriously, obviously.
Well, there are reports, we're out of time. There are reports that rainfall in this area is going to increase, so good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck to you and to Madison and St. Clair and Monroe counties. I hope that these problems can be worked out before that next 93 flood shows up.
I'm confident we'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us. And to my audience, I've been speaking with Les Sterman about the levees that protect Metro East. Most of you people who are watching in St. Louis or in other parts of the country probably could care less. But for the 150,000 people who live there, this is a big deal, and it's a lot of money. To the rest of you, we will see you next Monday. Thank you.